unfortunately, in Australian football, we're regularly fighting the constant battle of trying to achieve cut through, trying to operate in the same direction as I guess a sport, and that's something that has been a decades long battle, and it doesn't help when you have, I guess, individuals who have a platform. Now, in the case of Vince Rugari or Rugari, apologies if I've pronounced that incorrect, Vince. I'm not exactly sure which one is correct. Feel free to let me know. He has a large platform writing for the Sydney Morning Herald. He is a relatively experienced journalist. But where I believe there's a severe disconnect with Vince is that he's been given a position to write about the World Game, which in my opinion, he actually doesn't really know that much about. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you just focus on, for example, doing match reports, interviews, giving very, very high-level views, which aren't necessarily controversial, which the average person can sort of put together, fine. But in the case of Vince, he uses his platform, in my opinion, to really push the case of Africa's A-League tournament cartel of fake football. I think, in my opinion, that's obvious. It's a view that I've discussed with quite a few people who follow Australian football, who have followed the game for a very long time. In our opinion, it's very clear as well with the insights that he often gets, that he's getting information fed to him directly, certainly from Africa's A-League tournament cartel of fake football, potentially in the past from the former Frank's Football Oz, that might still be the case. And he puts it out for strategic reasons. And in general, I'd say he bats for their position no matter what. Now, in the case of the European Super League, which I think it's fair to say has been universally canned, right? So there are going to be some supporters, but if we're talking about out of 100% of football fans who you present this idea to, football fans in particular who follow European football, I'd say we're probably in between the 95 to 98% who are very, very against it. And that puts Africa's A-League tournament cartel of fake football McFranchise customers and McFranchise journos, which unfortunately Vince Rugari is one of, in a really tough position, because it looks like that they don't actually agree with the European Super League idea, in general that is. But then they're conflicted by the fact that actually the A-League, Africa's A-League tournament cartel of fake football, has been operating, with basically the equivalent system of, closed system, a self-protectionist system built to benefit investors in perpetuity, really, totally going against the spirit of football, which is aspiration, competition, success on the field, gradually improving, etc. And he's trying to justify that position instead of saying, this moment has put me in a period of reflection. I want to see football succeed in this country. Maybe that explains why I've been so pro Africa's A-League tournament cartel of fake football, even with failing ratings, crowds, interest. Maybe having something that's structured like a European Super League can be considered as, an example for the European Super League as to why, over a period of time, a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, what may happen to them, when you shut off competition, when you really disconnect from people, who have loved the game for their life, since they were young, for many decades, and they love the genuine structure of the game, not only just playing the game. So instead of taking that viewpoint, it tries to hark back, I think it's Africa's A-League tournament cartel of fake football, McFranchise customer 101 rationale, and that's trying to use an NSL example, keeping in mind, the NSL now, I think it ended in 2003, where we're on to 18 years now of the competition being disbanded. Australia has a much larger population. You could argue we're a more prosperous country. You could argue we have progressed from a football perspective in terms of certainly participation. We have more football facilities. More people in general like the game. They may not like Africa's A-League tournament cartel of fake football, but they may play futsal, indoor soccer, they may watch European soccer. Collectively the rights of, say, the Champions League, the EPL, leagues like the Bundesliga, Serie A, the FA Cup, La Liga, the list goes on, are probably, I did a self-analysis, anywhere between 100 to 150 million per annum, these broadcast rights are obtaining here in Australia. We have gotten to a point where we have a really, really knowledgeable football base that will not accept, rubbish examples that are not put into appropriate context, examples which Ruggeri keeps digging into, using now a 99 to 2002 example of some statements from somebody who wasn't quoted. That's cherry picking at its finest. And I thought, let's have a look at, the individuals who have supported, this fake football narrative. There's not that many of them. Obviously, you may think 10 retweets and 140 likes is large. I mean, it's okay. I'm sure it's been seen by 10 or 15,000 people, but, that's the platform Vince has. The reality is we're talking about 150 people. Some of those quote tweets, are obviously against what Vince has posted, so I won't show them. But let's have a look at the list of all the people who supported this false narrative by AFCA's A-League Tournament Cartel of Fake Football. In my opinion, they're number one journo in, I guess, talking marks, if you like irony. So let's just have a look at all them. Disappointing to see another journalist as well retweet that. No surprises seeing Mr. Turner, I believe, is also currently working at Sportsflick. Well done on securing the UEFA Champions League rights. Hopefully the European Super League gets shut down. And you can obviously maintain those rights and achieve as many subscribers as you intended to in an unhindered fashion. Because I tell you what, having to compete against the European Super League may make some people not subscribe to Sportsflick. Okay, so now we go to the likes. Disappointing to see Nick Stoll there. Always liked his stuff in general. Thought he's a pretty fair bloke, so maybe we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But as you can see, this is the cream of the crop of AFCA's A-League Tournament Cartel McFranchise customers who will continuously just, lap up what Vince Ruggeri says, no matter how right or how wrong it is. You're basically saying, in general, I disagree with the European Super League, ignore it. That's the best way to send the message. But on the other hand, even though the A-League has, basically had the same structure as the European Super League for the past 16 years, has prevented, historic clubs, mammoth clubs. Obviously, I support one in South Melbourne. There are so many others. I'm not going to ring them off. You all know who they are. That structure has prevented those clubs reaching their true potential, which by consequence means that Australian football hasn't reached its full potential, because you can't have, and there's Tony Issing, absolutely no surprise for him to appear there. You can't have the strongest clubs in Australian football being artificially suppressed in perpetuity, right? And whilst they've been artificially suppressed in perpetuity, they've actually grown. I look at so many clubs. Unfortunately, Ethan, I do like Ethan. He's one of these McFranchise customers who has followed me for a while. He speaks logically. He tries to understand all views. It's disappointing that he liked that. Nets Mitro looks like he's a South Melbourne fan. Wow. But actually, to be fair, he's also an AFCA's A-League Tournament Cartel of Fake Football McVictory McFranchise customer, and that's actually his number one team, supposedly, if you take it in order. So maybe we can forget the fact that he's also listed South Melbourne. It's just really disappointing to see, this even attempted to be justified. Perfect opportunity. Sorry, I accidentally clicked into A-League Villa. Perfect. And there's Michael Turner again. Wow, absolutely laps up everything that Vince writes. So perfect opportunity to say, what, let's reflect. This structure of AFCA's A-League Tournament Cartel of Fake Football, what the European Super League is proposing, does not work. And finally, Daniel Garb. I've always suspected that, even deep down, I do feel that he likes, football, but he's always worked in AFCA's A-League Tournament Cartel of Fake Football, and I've just felt that he's always battling that, where's the loyalty lie, and he's tipped over, in my opinion, to really supporting AFCA's A-League Tournament Cartel of Fake Football, more than the greater game, which is very disappointing, but not surprising. So these are the people who continuously support Vince Ruggeri, who cherry picks facts about the National Soccer League to justify, in my opinion, an unjustifiable position. To his credit, though, when he doesn't write about topics about structure, topics which I suspect are in, the best interest of AFCA's A-League Tournament Cartel of Fake Football, he has written some great pieces. I remember reading a piece about, I think, Tongik from the Central Coast Mariners, how he's a friend, with someone in his, I guess, living quarters who's significantly older. A great article on Arpia Leichhardt, I think one on Maradona as well. So he's actually a very talented journalist who can write well, especially in long form. But when it comes to matters which concern, the best interests of Australian football. Vince Rugari, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, is unqualified to be a commentator on these topics. His platform gives him that position. And those 150 people who support him, I think you need to question whether or not you're actually football fans, because quite obviously, not obviously, it's not obvious to you, in my opinion, you're absolutely not. You're working against the game. Thank you for listening to this. Cheers.